What's up, everybody? Today we're going to be talking about the next 7 weeks in War of the Visions, that's July and August, to decide whether or not you should be saving or spending your Visior. Now keep in mind, right after these 7 weeks we're going to get the Final Fantasy 13 collab, and then very shortly we'll get the Final Fantasy Tactics rerun. So there is a lot on the horizon that is very exciting, including some possible summer units, maybe a summer Helena, maybe a global exclusive coming up as well, so lots of decisions to be made. This week is Sadely's VC, but next week we're expecting a pair of new units to come to War of the Visions. The first is a free MR Dark unit, that's Ranell, who you might know from the story. She's the same main job as Valentine's Day Ildira, and she is an evasion unit. She specifically has 25% slash evasion, which is pretty big, especially in the current meta, so definitely looks quite good. She has a lot of agility debuffs she can apply to the other team, and then she has 15 single target resistance on her master ability. This is a really good building off point for an evasion unit, so that's really nice for those single target sure hit attacks. The one weakness about her is that she doesn't have any long-term defense penetration except for on a sub job TP skill, and she has no slash resist penetration. So she does have like I think it's like an 80% defense penetration on one attack specifically, but otherwise she's actually lacking compared to a lot of the current units. My verdict is that she is a solid free unit. Eliza is our next 90 cost standard pool unit, but don't let that color your opinion of her, because she's actually a very strong unit, and I think that a lot of people might underrate her just based on the non-limited 90 cost tag that she has. She has really good agility and dex, good accuracy in general, and decent attack for a ranged unit. She has 20% innate missile penetration, she's got sharpshoot for 100% hit, but then her LB, this is the big thing, her LB has a 38% ice imperil, and then it decreases the movement of the unit by 1. It has a very big range as well. She has powerful cast time skills, just one powerful cast time skill that has 50% defense and missile penetration on it, and she does have some cast time reduction. We can also supplement that with some other sources. She has very limited TP buffs, but both of her main job TP buffs are very strong. You'll definitely want to supplement her with bells or another AP generation thing. She can break defense, she can break AP, CT, Dispel, Protect, and Shell. She has chaining potential and can break barriers with a 3-hit skill, so she really can do it all in terms of offense. My verdict is that she's very strong for ice accounts. I think that they have to grab her. Otherwise, I think other people could skip her if you don't have a supporting cast for her, but she is a super strong unit. In week 4, we're going to get Eliza's VC, and this one's pretty straightforward. If you have her, you pull for it. If you don't, then you won't pull for it. However, this VC is for ranged ice units. It's going to be useful for Elia Rundell as well. So if you get Eliza, if you're planning on getting Elia, then you're going to get this VC. It's got some required AP up, and then some accuracy for the bestowed, and then missile attack, slash resist, and crit rate up for the party effect. Super good VC for ice in general, just because you get that slash resistance and you get some other stuff. There's lots of ice units that have a missile sub, and there's even some other missile ice units that I'm forgetting, like Curry. So definitely a solid VC, but very specific again to if you have an ice account or not. Here's where things get interesting, because in JP, this is where they got Helena, and then the next week was where they got Helena's VC. There was a raid with a Fire MR VC with Adelard on it, and we don't know what we're going to get here. Maybe it's going to be Summer Helena, as we have been told that she's coming, and maybe it'll be a second summer unit, or maybe we'll get a global exclusive. I'm not really sure. I'm kind of hoping for some sort of fire unit to, spice things up, but we'll just have to wait and see. After our 2 unknown weeks, we're going to get to week 3 of August, and this is another interesting week. We have another free MR unit, Macleod, and then Dark Fina is coming to War of the Vision. So first, let's talk about Macleod. He is a free MR ice unit. He's kind of slow at 60 agility, and he has low HP, but he's really interesting because he has 35 to 50% innate missile resistance with his passives equipped, and then he can buff teammates and his own missile resistance by 35% with one of his TP skills. So he can go for 100% missile resist pretty easily, and he can make your team very missile resistant. And there is going to be a missile emphasis coming up with both Eliza and Elia Rundell. Ranell coming out on the ice element. So it's kind of interesting that he has so much missile resistance packed on and also the support. His job level 25 skill is a pierce attack with projectile aiming. So that means it has a really high range height, and it has a 100% counter reduction, and it dispels haste, which is very handy. Definitely a manual unit, definitely an interesting tech choice. And again, he's free, so it's not really that big a deal if he's, you know, breaking the meta or not. He's just a solid MR unit. We're also getting Dark Fina this week, which I'm really excited for because she's a great character from FFBE, and I'm trying to figure out if I'm going to pull for her. She's pretty interesting because she has some survivability, but then she also has some pretty good damaging capabilities. Maybe the coolest thing about her is that her TMR is nuts. It's an accessory with 7 agility. It has 40% magic resist penetration and then 350 cast time reduction. So that's a really big deal. That's a TMR that you would grab and you would slap on to so many mages. Her magic stat is really solid as well. Her agility is kind of low at 62, but she's got solid dex and luck stats. It bodes well for her accuracy. She also has a hit chance increase on one of her skills. She has a passive that gives 24 spirit, so when you pack that with her innate spirit, it actually goes up to 28, which is pretty good. And like I said, she's got good survivability with a re-raise effect that also gives a 40% AoE resistance when her HP is greater than 70%. She can also buff light and dark resistance by 20%, so lots of different ways to survive. She has a 30% single target resistance debuff that also breaks runic. That's a really big deal. A lot of people will be looking forward to that. Just, you know, get out of here, Celis. She has a ton of cast times, but lots of cast time reductions. No innate cast time reduction though, so that's kind of interesting. It is going to be, you know, she has a lot of fast cast times as well, but it's still kind of a big deal to not have any innate cast time reduction. If you stack a lot of cast time and then she gets dispelled, that's kind of a problem. Speaking of which, her LB is a full dispel, but it's single target, and then she has no big AoEs like Black Rose Helena. That's kind of interesting that, and there is one exception. She has the Scholar Strike attack, but that's a 200 cast time skill, so it's going to be kind of slow for her. But yeah, she's not a copy of Helena because she doesn't, or sorry, Helena, because she doesn't have those big AoEs, the spirit breaks, etc. But she has really powerful single target attacks, some good AoEs, and then the good survivability with a baked-in re-raise. I think that a lot of dark accounts are going to want to pull for her because she can deal with the runic. She's going to play well with any of your dark mages, your Garvel, Helena, or maybe your Golbez, but she's also going to work with the rest of the dark cast. She's definitely a very strong unit. I think that people could get into dark with her and start pulling other units. So definitely a strong unit, strong consideration. The main reason you're not going for her is because she's just not limited. Week 4 in August is going to be the Dark Fina VC, and this is pretty simple. Again, if you have dark mages, if you have Dark Fina, you pull for this. If you don't, you won't pull for it. But if you're curious what it does, it has AoE resist 10% and spirit penetration 10% on the bestowed, which is a pretty killer bestowed ability, to be honest. And then 50% magic up, some dex, and some missile resistance. That missile resistance is pretty timely with Eliza and Elia on either end of this banner. So this is a really good VC for dark, specifically if you're going to be using dark mages. If you're using dark slashers, maybe you don't grab it, but I think a lot of people are going to want to grab it, specifically because it has this crazy pixel art on it from FFBE that I'm so excited for. I want to pull it just for that. Oh my gosh. And then at the end of August, literally the end, August 31st, we're going to get Queen of Hourne Macherie, who is another 100 cost non-limited unit in the standard pool, which does reduce your value a little bit considering that Final Fantasy 13 and Final Fantasy Tactics are immediately after this, but she is quite an interesting unit and definitely a good one. So she's an earth unit, an earth mage. She does have like magic scaling magic attacks, but she has one very powerful magic scaling strike attack, which is quite interesting to me. Her TMR is also very good. It has a 20 defense, 20 missile resist buff, but it has a big cast range with 2 casts. That is a very powerful guild battle skill to have for multiple fights. A lot of people are going to want that. Her stats are just great all around, like really solid. She has a very high innate counter chance prevention, and she has re-raise because why wouldn't you have re-raise? I mean, come on, you have to have it, right? But this isn't just re-raise. Oh, it's even better than regular re-raise because it also restores her CT upon revival. Oh wait, but that's not all. It also reduces her casting time by 550. So that's pretty crazy. 2 casts, that's nice. However, she has a ton of casting times, and she has limited cast time reduction aside from after her revival. So she has no innate cast time reduction except for the passive, the Time Mage passive, and it basically means that she's going to be a slow caster compared to a lot of the units that we have, except for after she's been revived from her re-raise. So she kind of gets better over time. She has very, very powerful attacks though. She looks fantastic. She has the Arithmetician sub for healing and instant cast skills if you need them. And she has Time Mage sub with haste but no quicken. And then she has a healing spell, which is pretty interesting because I don't actually know what her AI is, but her healing spell is on her main job's sub job, and it has a big Curata potency, 210 potency heal, but it also gives the recipient 20% elemental resistance, which is a very strong heal with a very strong buff attached to it. So that's definitely very intriguing. My verdict is that you're not going to pull for her because of the limited units coming right after this. However, if she was available on a ticket or if you pulled her later on, you want to build her up for that TMR ASAP, and overall, she's a great unit. That's going to be it for this preview video. Let me know if I missed anything or if there's maybe some units that you're excited for. For me personally, I'm just really hoping for a Fire Summer unit or something like that in the middle of summer. Otherwise, I'll probably save all the way to Final Fantasy 13 and pull for Lightning, and then I'll work on some FFT stuff. I'm kind of tempted for Eliza, but my Ice account is pretty weak, and I'm also very tempted for Dark Fina, but I feel like my Dark account is already so strong that, you know, like I can just probably support some other elements more. Maybe Lightning is in a good area for me to go. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you all in the next War of the Visions video before you know it.